They didn't stop loving you. That's the part that makes no sense. You go back through everything, the trips, the conversations, the way they looked at you, and it was real. You know it was real, and yet they still did it. They chose someone else while choosing you. They built something secret while standing inside something you both built together. And the question that keeps you up at night isn't just what happened. It's why. How does a person who loves someone do that to them? How does someone who knows exactly how much this would hurt do it anyway? The answer isn't simple, and it isn't what most people think, because cheating is almost never really about the other person. It's about something happening inside the person who cheats, something psychological, something that was quietly running long before you ever entered the picture. If this is hitting somewhere real for you, subscribe. This channel goes into the psychology most people feel but can't explain. Like this video. Drop a comment below. Do you think people who cheat ever truly love their partner? And hit like so more people find this when they're searching for answers. Now let's get into it. The easiest story to tell about cheating is that the person who did it is simply bad, selfish, broken, that there was never really love there. That story is clean. It protects you from the more disturbing truth. The disturbing truth is that good people cheat. Loving people cheat. People who are genuinely committed, genuinely grateful, genuinely happy in their relationship, cheat. And when you understand why, it stops being a story about good people and bad people, and starts being a story about unmet needs, unexamined wounds, and a moment where the brain made a decision the heart would spend years paying for. Psychologists who study infidelity, and there's a significant body of research on this, consistently find that the majority of people who cheat report still loving their partner at the time it happened. That is not an excuse, but it is an important fact, because it tells you that love alone is not the variable that determines whether someone cheats. Something else is. That something else is almost always internal, and it almost always started long before the affair did. Here is what most affairs actually are at their root. They are an attempt to fill something that feels empty. That emptiness doesn't have to be the relationship's fault. Sometimes it is. A relationship that has quietly become roommates, where affection has dried up, where the person feels invisible or unwanted or taken for granted. But sometimes, the emptiness has nothing to do with the relationship at all. It lives in the person. It's been there for years, and the relationship, no matter how good, cannot reach it. Psychologists call this a validation hunger, a deep need to feel desired, significant, exciting, alive, needs that often trace back to childhood, to a parent who was emotionally unavailable, to a childhood where love felt conditional, to years of performing for approval and never quite feeling like enough. When someone with this kind of hunger meets a person who makes them feel, even temporarily, like all of that has been answered, the response is overwhelming. It doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like oxygen. And people will do almost anything for oxygen when they feel like they've been slowly suffocating. This is why the affair partner is almost never actually better than the person being cheated on. They're not more attractive, not more intelligent, not more compatible. They're new, and new, to a starving nervous system, feels like a solution. It isn't. But the brain doesn't know that yet. Here is the psychological mechanism that makes cheating possible in a way that would otherwise seem impossible. How does someone look their partner in the eye, someone they love, and carry a secret that size? The answer is compartmentalization. The human brain has a remarkable ability to separate experiences into sealed containers that don't interact with each other. What happens in one compartment doesn't bleed into the other. The person who comes home and is genuinely warm and present with their partner is not performing. In that compartment, the love is real. The other compartment is closed. It's not that they've forgotten it. It's that the brain has learned to not let them touch. Research on this shows that people who cheat don't typically walk around in a constant state of guilt and conflict. Most of the time, they feel relatively normal. The guilt arrives in flashes, during quiet moments, after intimacy with their partner, when their partner says something trusting. But the brain quickly suppresses it, because allowing both compartments to open at the same time would create a level of cognitive dissonance, holding two completely contradictory realities simultaneously. That is psychologically unbearable. So the brain protects itself. It keeps the compartments sealed. And the cheating continues, not because the person has no conscience, but because their conscience is being carefully managed by a mind that doesn't want to face the full weight of what it's doing. Here is something that rarely gets talked about in conversations about cheating. A lot of it is not about desire at all. It's about escape. Life builds pressure. The relationship that once felt like freedom starts to carry weight. Responsibilities, expectations, a shared identity that can start to feel like a cage, even when it's a good one. The person stops feeling like an individual and starts feeling like a role, a partner, a parent, a provider, someone's everything. And that can be suffocating even when you love the person you're suffocating next to. The affair, in this context, is not really about the affair partner. It's about who the cheating person gets to be when they're with them. Someone with no history, no obligations, no version of themselves that's been worn down by years of ordinary life. The affair is a place where they get to be new again, desired again, interesting again. Psychologists call this an identity escape. The person isn't running towards someone. They're running away from a version of themselves they no longer recognize or like. The tragedy is that the escape never works. You cannot outrun your own psychology. The same person who felt trapped in their relationship will eventually feel trapped in the affair, because the trap was never the relationship. It was inside them the whole time. This is the question that causes the most pain for the person who was betrayed. If they were that unhappy, why didn't they just leave? Why put you through this instead of being honest? The answer is fear, specifically the fear of loss. Leaving means losing everything the relationship contains: the companionship, the shared life, the security, the family, sometimes the financial stability, the identity of being someone's partner. Even when a relationship is deeply unhappy, those things are real, and the brain does not want to surrender them. So the cheating person does something psychologically cowardly, but very human. They try to have both. They manage the discomfort of the relationship by getting their needs met elsewhere, without triggering the enormous loss that leaving would require. They tell themselves it's temporary, that they'll figure it out, that nobody has to get hurt. And this is where the selfishness lives. Not necessarily in a lack of love, but in the decision to protect their own comfort at the cost of your right to know the truth. To choose the person who chose them. To make an informed decision about your own life. That is the real betrayal, not just the act. The decision to take that choice away from you. Research on couples who experience infidelity and go on to rebuild shows something that surprises most people. In some cases, not all, but some, the relationship that emerges is actually stronger than the one that existed before. Not because the cheating was acceptable, but because the cheating forced a confrontation with everything that had been quietly wrong for years. The conversations that needed to happen and never did. The needs that were never named. The distance that had grown so gradually neither person noticed until it was everywhere. Healing is not inevitable, and it requires a level of honesty and accountability from the person who cheated that many are not capable of. Genuine accountability, not just apology, but the willingness to understand why it happened, really understand it, and do the work to address those roots. Without that, the dynamic that created the affair simply recreates itself. For the person who was betrayed, the healing is not about understanding so well that the pain disappears. The pain may never fully disappear, but understanding can do something else. It can remove the part of the pain that is self-directed, the part that asks, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? What could I have done differently? In most cases, the honest answer is nothing. You were not the variable. You were not the reason. You were just the person standing closest when something inside them finally broke. That is the hardest thing to hold. And also the most important. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper into the psychology most people carry but never fully understand. The next video is going to show you exactly what emotional unavailability looks like and why you keep attracting it without realizing. That one is going to hit differently. Don't miss it.